Saha Sri Shukadev Goswami Samvrita surrounded by Tacha there Mahan great Mahiyasam of the greatest Brahmarshi saint among the Brahmanas Rajarshi saint among the kings Deva Rishi saint among the demigods Sanghai by the assembly of Virochita well deserved Alam able Bhagavan powerful Yata as Hindu the moon Graha planets Riksha heavenly bodies Tada stars Nikadai by the assembly of Parita surrounded by. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sukadeva Goswami was then surrounded by saintly sages and demigods, just as the moon is surrounded by stars, planets, and other heavenly bodies. His presence was gorgeous, and he was respected by all. Please repeat. Sukadeva Goswami was then surrounded by saintly sages and demigods, just as the moon is surrounded by stars, planets, and other heavenly bodies. His presence was gorgeous, and he was respected by all. Purport. In the great assembly of saintly personalities, there is Vyasadeva, the Brahmarshi, Narada, the Devarshi, Parshuram, the great ruler of the Kshatriya kings, etc. Some of them were powerful incarnations of the Lord. Sukadeva Goswami was not known as Brahmarshi, Rajarshi, or Devarshi, nor was he an incarnation like Narada, Vyasa, or Parshuram, and yet he excelled them in respects paid. This means that the devotee of the Lord is more honored in the world than the Lord himself. One should therefore never minimize the importance of a devotee like Sukadeva Goswami. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Romapala Swami Niti Namane. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane. Okay. Hare Krishna. Asking for blessings from senior Vaishnavas. Please forgive me for sitting in a higher seat and speaking. Try to do my best to as a service for the devotees. Thank you for being here and tolerating me. So we're here continuing to hear the appearance. This is the title of the chapter is the appearance of Sukadeva Goswami. And this verse is really nice. It paints a really nice picture. When I was in Poland on the Polish tour with Indradyumna Swami, one of the plays, he does a few plays there as a way of spreading Krishna consciousness. So the message, one of them is called the Bhagavatam, how the Bhagavatam was spoken. So they create this atmosphere. They show Maharaj Parikshit's dilemma, and all this drama comes out, and then all of a sudden Shukadeva Goswami appears from the crowd. It's a devotee who's dressed not like exactly like Shukadeva Goswami, because it's a bit hard to depict, but he's more like clean shaven and nice cloth. So people can get the idea of a saintly personality. That in itself shows like the confidential nature of the Bhagavatam in and of itself. It's very hard to present to people, otherwise they might think this is just like in the previous verse, like ordinary people thought he was just a madman like Shukadeva Goswami, until he came to this point of that the sages came into the assembly of the sages, and then he was recognized for who he was. But in this case, in this play, in Poland, they depict Shukadeva Goswami as very clean, and he has like devotional clothes on and things like that. And he comes out of the stage, and then the spotlight goes on him, and he's like comes up onto the stage and then starts instructing Maharaj Parikshit. So this verse is right at that climax, it's a really nice image, so much so that you can make a drama out of it and people will be very much attracted to it. So this, I wanted to speak a little bit about this. So from my readings, I've been reading for Kartik, I'm reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, and so I'm going to try to use some of these points that I've been meditating on from this book to try to explain this verse and try to unpack it a little bit. It's a big verse. There's a lot going on. So the first point I wanted to explain. Ultimately, the essence of this verse is explaining the glories of a devotee, that the rareness and the preciousness of a devotee, that even great Brahma Rishis, Deva Rishis, and even incarnations of the Lord, like in the purport, Narada, Vyasa, and Parshuram, they're considered Shakti Avesh avatars of Krishna, but they paid respects to Shukadeva Goswami, who's not known as a Shakti Avesh avatar, but he's in a special position as a devotee. So we don't really know too much about sages and demigods. So it's a statement I wanted to unpack a little bit. What is a sage and what is a demigod? So this is the most clear picture I've gotten of what is a sage and what is a demigod is from Srimad Bhagavatam, because it is, for those of you who haven't read it or are aware, there's a story of Gopakumar. He's this he's a cowherd boy, but in Vrindavan, that's where he starts, and he receives the association of a pure devotee of Krishna, and then he gets a mantra from this pure devotee, and then this mantra takes him on a spiritual journey, the Srimad Bhagavatam is a commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam by Srila Sanatana Goswami, and it's in the form of a story. So it's a story that depicts the message of the Bhagavatam in an essential way. And so Gopakumar's story, he receives the mantra, the Krishna mantra, and then he goes through he takes the long route all the way back to the spiritual world, and this shows us the essential value of a devotee and bhakti to Krishna. So, because we might not know how fortunate we are to have this association with a devotee of Krishna. So this story shows us how fortunate we are that he goes all the way up to the higher planetary systems, through the higher planetary systems, through the universe. He goes into the spiritual world. He goes up to Vaikuntha. Even he goes to Ayodhya, meets Lord Ram. He goes to Dwarka even to meet Krishna, Dwarkadish Krishna in Dwarka. And from there he's instructed by Narada Muni to go back, all the way back to Vrindavan where he started. Go all the way back to Vrindavan where he started and perform Nama Sankirtan on the earth. And that's where you will achieve the highest result. There you can achieve the most intimate relationship with the Supreme Lord. So that's higher than all these higher planetary systems, the saints and the sages, all these things that he experienced along the way, even up to the point higher even than some aspects of the spiritual world. People who are liberated from the material universes and they're engaging in devotional service is still higher than that, performing simply the loud chanting of Krishna's names in the assembly of devotees on the earth is this most potent form, most potent form. This is our great wealth, and it's hard to understand. So it's hard to understand how fortunate we are. So this story explains how fortunate we are in a way that we don't even really, we're not even aware of. Most of us, we don't grow up hearing about the higher planetary systems. We don't grow up believing in the higher planetary systems, and we have very little understanding. So this takes us on this journey through there. So the demigods are in Swargaloka, and they're headed by Indra, and there's all sorts of other positions for maintaining the universal order, relating particularly with maintaining even like the earthly realm. There's this connection between Swargaloka and the earthly realm, and the demigods are in charge of like the supplying the making sure everything is in line, like the sun is going up always at the right time, and the elements are in check. So that's a demigod. There's higher level demigods and lower level demigods. There's these important posts, and then there's a lot of other people there who are worshipping these higher posts and enjoying on an almost equal level with them. They're getting higher levels of material enjoyment. So this is actually, we say the word karmi as devotees, karmi, as a way of explaining ordinary people that we observe in this earthly realm, but actually in Swargaloka is where the real karmis are at. They're ones who are following the karma kanda portion of the Vedas, and then they receive these higher posts in Swargaloka. Whereas the people that we usually call karmis, they're more like vikarmis. Vikarmis or ugakarmis. not good karma, not following the portions of the Vedas that lead to higher planetary systems. And that's what vikarma means, not good karma. And then Gyani, so Gyani's, that's the name of the chapter in the Srimad Bhagavatam where he goes through he goes past Swargaloka, he goes past the realm of the demigods into the realm of the sages, which there's planetary systems there, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, and Brahmaloka. And so this is above these administrators of the Brahma is there, and there still is some administrators there, but it's explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam that they're not so involved with material activities there, not as involved as the demigods. And so so there's a higher level of evolution of living beings. It's like when Gopakumar was in Maharloka, they're performing yagyas. That's what they're doing in Maharloka. They're performing yagyas and huge sacrifices. And when they would engage in the sacrifices, the Lord would come out of the fire in a beautiful form, and he would personally accept the offering, and then he would go back. And this was all what they were doing. They were worshipping the Supreme Lord in the form of yagya, Yageshvara. And then, and they're not really engaged in sensual activities. And so this is getting towards more sage personalities. And then Gopakumar then went to Tapaloka. For some reason he didn't go to Janaloka. I'm not sure why. It said something like they're very similar, but I'm not sure exactly. He didn't go to Janaloka, he just went straight to Tapaloka. And there he met with the 4 Kumars and other sages they're just so absorbed in samadhi that they didn't even speak to anybody or speak to each other. They would be meditating in samadhi most of the day, and then they would meet up just briefly and discuss a little bit about the personality of Godhead. And then they go back to their individual places and just engage in samadhi meditation all day. So this is a jnani. This is a high-level jnani. This is the result of jnanis. And this is, it's explained to get there, a jnani has to go from the earth to these planets is the Jnana Kanda section of the Vedas, and you have to be a strict renunciate and study the Upanishads very intensely, and you get to and obviously engage in meditation and prepare yourself for that level of meditation. And so this is a real jnani, and some of the personalities there, obviously there's different degrees, like Sanat Kumar, the 4 Kumars are Shakti-Vish avatars, and there's some bhakti there. So there's bhakti, there's mixed with bhakti, some of the individuals, and majority of them are practicing the jnana yoga, so deep meditation, approaching the Supreme Lord within the heart. And at first Gopakumar, when he's there, he's like, I don't really like this place. I just want to worship Krishna, like my Lord of my mantra. It's like nobody's talking to each other. I don't know what's going on here. Everyone's just absorbed in meditation. But then one of the sages tells him, comes and speaks to him, and he says that you don't have to see the Lord with your eyes. He said actually it's within your mind more so. Even if you're seeing with your eyes, what is experienced is within your mind, and also the prema that you can feel is not with your visual eyes, but it's more internal. It's more in your mind. So then he blessed Gopakumar, and then Gopakumar went into a trance. So he was meditating on the Supreme Lord within his mind, like they were. So although Gopakumar had this seed of bhakti, braja, even not just ordinary bhakti, but braja bhakti, there's still this gradations. Even on the path of devotion, it's described that bhakti is like the elevator back to Godhead, but we still have to go up. So there's still the similar experiences, but it's a bit quicker if you're following bhakti rather than following the karma section, going up to Svargaloka, then going to the jnana, or following jnana kanda to go to the place of the sages. But there's still a similar evolution of consciousness that's involved. So although Gopakumar had this bhakti, but still association with the sages at Tapaloka, he still entered into a deeper realization of the Supreme Lord from their association. He was able to go deeper within from this experience and from their association. And at certain points he would still go in and out of samadhi, and he would get confused. He's like, well, I just want to worship the Supreme Lord, and I just want to see the Lord. And so he would, but at this point some of the sages could realize he was a bit upset about something, and they would, one of the 4 Kumaras approached them, or all 4 of them, and then they said, what's the problem? Why aren't you able to meditate on the Supreme Lord? And he said, I just want to worship the Supreme Lord, something like this. And they said, then all at once they changed their form into the form of personality of Godhead. One of them manifested Nrsingadev form, and one of them manifested another form, one of them manifested another form. So it's described that their meditation on the Lord internally was so strong that they could turn their forms into the form of the Supreme Lord, and then Gopakumar had darshan of the Supreme Lord through their association. And so then he became happy again for some time, but still eventually his journey went on, and Lord Brahma came, and he was like, who's Lord Brahma? And then he went to Lord Brahma's planet. And then that's a whole other aspect of who is Lord Brahma. Sometimes we take it cheaply, because I think we're so fortunate that we don't realize who these personalities are. We just focus on Krishna. But like with Lord Brahma comes here, like if Lord Brahma comes, he's like on a swan, and he comes and like parks his swan in front of the temple. and what would that experience be like? It's a very powerful experience to meet Lord Brahma. He's the primary like jiva of the whole universe, and he has a personal relationship with Krishna that's even higher than these sages of Tapaloka. It's described in the Srimad Bhagavatam that he has a relationship like the son of the Supreme Lord. He's pampered like a son, because he has such a responsible post. And there's a form of the Lord that's there in Brahmaloka. It's called, what is it? Mahapurusha. I can't remember exactly. Sorry, but I think it's the Mahapurusha form of the Lord, something like that. And he's there always there with Brahma, and at the end of Brahma's day, he takes rest with the Supreme Lord, right next to him, or on his lotus. He's like goes to rest, and he feels sheltered by this supreme form of the Lord, which is always with him. And Gopakumar gets to experience that, and that relationship. He actually becomes Lord Brahma for a little while, and experiences that, what it's like to be Lord of Brahma in the universe, and have that relationship with the Lord. But still he wants more than that, and he goes, he hears about liberation, and he goes through the coverings of the universe, and that's where I'm at in my reading right now. He's just going through the coverings of the universe, and I've read it before, so that's why I know the whole journey, but I'm reading it now, and he's going through the coverings of the universe, and he's about to go to experience the Brahma Jyoti, what it's like to be completely, he gets attracted for a second by the Brahma Jyoti. He almost merges, he gets like dazzled by it, he sees it, but then Lord Shiva comes, he says, what are you doing? Don't go into this Brahma Jyoti. There's more, you can go to Vaikuntha, keep going. Don't get stuck here. He gets like frazzled, he's like, whoa. Gets attracted by it, the bliss, the Brahma Ananda, the bliss of the impersonal rays of the Supreme Lord that exists in between Vaikuntha and the material world, the material universes. And he goes into Vaikuntha after associating with Lord Shiva, through Lord Shiva's abode, and then he thinks everybody is Krishna, because everyone in Vaikuntha has a body similar to Krishna, and he starts paying obeisances to everyone. This is my Supreme Lord. I've been looking for you this whole time. But then they're like, no, we're not the Supreme Lord. But they have the opulence of having the same bodily form as the Supreme Lord. So he gets confused by that, and then they bring him to the Lord. And Vaikuntha, he starts doing some services and things like that. But he still has this longing for something more. Even in Vaikuntha, he has this longing for something more because he has this mantra that he's been chanting from his association with a pure devotee of Krishna, this Gopal mantra that he's been chanting. And he's also, originally, he's from Vrindavan. That's where he was born on this planet. So he has this Braja Bhakti, this seed of devotion to Krishna. So even in Vaikuntha, he can't give up this Braja Bhakti. It's higher, this experience of sweetness of the cows and the flute of Krishna and the qualities of Krishna. They're more attractive even, the intimacy of love and the sweetness, it's more satisfying than being in Vaikuntha. And the opulence and the peace of worshipping Krishna in the Dasya Rasa, Shanta Rasa. So he keeps going. Narada Muni ends up coming in at this point and guides him through the spiritual world up to Ayodhya. And actually, I'm not sure when Narada Muni comes in exactly. It might be Uddhava. Oh no, Uddhava's in Dwarka. He instructs him at a certain point to eventually he goes up to Ayodhya and experiences the bhakti of being what it's like to serve Lord Ramachandra, and then he's still not quite satisfied with that, and then he goes to Dwarka, still not satisfied with that, and then he tells him, he gets the instruction, go back, all the way back, go back to Brajabhumi, go back to the earth where you started. And so this is where it gets like a time warp. Srimad Bhagavatam takes you through a time warp that he's lived for days of Brahma, he's entered into the spiritual world, and then he comes back, and still on the earthly planet, there's still, Vrindavan is still there. And there's this, it's described that the whole world is completely different. It's a completely different day of Brahma. You know, what does that mean on an earthly platform? It's such a long time. But still, this animals are similar. There's still the cows and the peacocks and the river Yamuna and the Govardhan Hill, things like that. There's still these resemblances of the Dham still manifested, and he goes there back from the spiritual world, and even his guru is also there somehow or other that he first met. He keeps associating with his guru, and he gets more instructions on how to go further back to Goloka. So Goloka, that's the abode that ultimately is the destination of the journey of somebody who gets the seed of Braja Bhakti, of the devotion of Krishna. And that's what we've received through receiving the message of the Bhagavatam through Sukadeva Goswami and through the Hare Krishna mantra from our disciplic succession. We are extremely fortunate to have the association of this process. Even we get to read books like this and hear books like this by Shukadeva, by Srila Sanatana Goswami, who's a direct, intimate associate in Goloka Vrindavan, and he put his heart into these stories to get us, to give us the opportunity to go up to this highest level of bhakti, Krishna, to devotion to Krishna in Vrindavan. So that's mostly what I wanted to speak about, to try to share what I've been reading for Kartik, and to try to explain this verse a little bit. I can read the translation again. Shukadeva Goswami was then surrounded by saintly sages and demigods, just as the moon is surrounded by stars, planets, and other heavenly bodies. His presence was gorgeous, and he was respected by all. So, reflections, corrections.
Thank you, Pastor. Just an inquiry. When the Jiva, is ready to, enter the born angels or, give a enter the spiritual world, I've heard that the Jiva is taken through all the planetary systems, just like Gopakumar. Is just to check whether they're not polluted by any tinges of, karma, jnana, or, like this. Is it true?
Yeah, I've heard that. I don't know what the source is.
Yeah.
I don't think it's in the Bhagavatam, but I have heard it before. But there's there's a Dhruva Maharaj in the Bhagavatam. When he achieves perfection of some sort, then there's the Vimana comes from Vaikuntha and it takes him up, and he sees the planetary systems, and he's not bewildered by it at all, and it just keeps going. So yeah, I've heard that's in there with Dhruva Maharaj, and yeah. Hopefully we stay strong. It's really it just depends on your advancement. No matter where you're at, whether you see it or you don't see it, if you're ready, you're ready. So yeah.
You were talking about the respect these exalted personalities give to the devotee, and then you described how amazing what Brahma is to give. And it made me reflect, how is it that just by getting a superficial appreciation or contact with the holy name, with the devotees, that is more recognized than all these other achievements, is growth, great power, great knowledge.
How is it?
How's it recognized?
How is it that just by receiving a little bit of it, that you're seen as? Can you help me understand the question a little bit more?
You're saying that, okay, we're unaware of how these planetary systems are out and how great they are, and then devotees, they get into a position where they just connect with Krishna, and it's considered to be higher. It's not disproportionate, it's like another realm.
Yeah, well, like in the story of Gopakumar, when you get the seed of it, that seed, so it's not necessarily at that moment that devotee becomes higher than Lord Brahma or the sages in Tapaloka, but the seed, that what is higher is the pure devotion, and then someone who has that seed of pure devotion is worth more than any position in the material universe, the devotion to Krishna. So in potentiality, that devotee has something that's more valuable, like that. And then we see that Gopakumar has that potentiality, but then everywhere he goes, he's advancing by the association of these great personalities. He's by associating with the sages in Tapaloka, he's able to meditate on his mantra like he's never done before. His mind is more peaceful and things like that. And then in Brahmaloka, he's able to have a relationship with the Lord more intimate than he had before, even though it's not with Krishna, like Srimad Bhagavatam Krishna, yet he's having a deeper experience, and then he keeps going, a deeper experience through the association. So the seed form, the bhakti, Krishna bhakti is there, and then and that's what's more valuable. And,
Just a basic question on who Sukadeva Goswami. Just some more background on who he is. And
we've been talking about this the last couple of days in the class. There's different depictions of who he is. Clearly, he's a very important personality. He was chosen to speak this Bhagavatam, and it's explained that he has more realizations even than he put into the Bhagavatam, because at the recitation of when he was speaking to Maharaj Parikshit, weren't all pure devotees in the assembly, so he had to speak in such a way that wouldn't bewilder their minds. As the pastimes of Krishna are very intimate. Who is Shukadeva Goswami? Yeah, he's there's different depictions, and I'm not completely aware of in the Puranas. If anybody else has anything they'd like to share about him.
The Bhagavatam clearly says it's the same Vyasa that's his identity from the Bhagavatam. He is a liberated soul from birth, and you have the Bhagavatam in the womb. Krishna, he was a Brahmavadi, and Krishna, the first thing comes to be fighting out. He's a liberated soul from birth, very exalted, and his father showed Vyasa that he learned the Bhagavatam. As far as his identity from the Bhagavatam, his identity, and say it's just a sukha that Bhagavan carries and other things, but in the point of view, Bhagavatam is a very liberated soul, recognised in this great assembly as the most elevated personality. So that says a lot for him. That is his qualification speaking.
Thank you. Anything else? Padma? Any thoughts?
Just in other words, when you were speaking the verse at the beginning, the glorified Sukadeva Goswami, like anything particular verse, even about the Sattva, once the Bhagavatam begins and gets recited, probably one of the most prominent personalities that's quoted in the Narada movement. In a sense, I guess this is my thought. It was easier for Narada to sit there and hear someone else and that to sit up there himself and talk about himself. And it's very interesting.
He had to hear himself being glorified and things like that. Yeah. That's it in the word for word is what is it? The great of the greatest. The great of the greatest. So there's all these great personalities. Okay. Gantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai,